We will convene this meeting for the Yardley Borough Sewer Authority for June 10th, 2020. I'll take a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of May 13th, which was also a Zoom meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. I don't think we got any of the public here, and I don't think we got anybody from the borough here. I don't think we have Mr. Smythe here either. So with that said, does the pump station committee have anything to report on?
No report.
Okay, Cheryl, you're up then. Okay. Cheryl? What do we do, lose her? Unmute yourself if you haven't done so already. In the far left corner. Any suggestions, Alex? I'm not as proficient at this as you are.
Well, I got nothing. I can't even get my camera to work.
She's on now. She's on now.
Cheryl, are you there?
Oh,
I'm on now, but yeah, I'm here now, but I don't know why it keeps cutting me off. It keeps telling me my internet's unstable or something. All right, so everybody should got the balance sheet, profit and loss. Can you hear me okay?
Cheryl, you're gonna have to speak up because I can barely hear you. Or get closer to the screen or something.
All right. Okay. And I can't help
Yeah. Is it me or is everybody having a hard time hearing her?
yeah, the connection's not good.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go on to something else and then come back.
Okay, well,
yeah,
I don't know if she's gonna know that we're walking all over her though. All right, let's, Cheryl, if you can hear us, hold off until maybe you get a better connection or something, because
cutting me off and then it reconnects me.
I didn't get that. Did anybody?
Hey,
No,
Brian,
breaking.
do me a favor. If you got a keyboard there handy, or can you chat her maybe? Let her know what's going on.
I'm trying to. I'm texting her now. It's not working now.
I've seen it, Brian. Maybe you could chat her through Zoom.
I can give it a try. Chat. Group chat.
Yeah.
Now it's got a picture.
Oh, there we go.
You hear me? I'm back, but it keeps
That's better.
cutting
A little
me
better.
off. I don't know.
I can see you now. Get closer to the screen or something, because we can barely hear you.
Okay. All right. Let me try to turn up the volume a little bit, but it keeps on cutting me off, and
It
I
sounds
don't know
like-
why.
Sounds like a connection.
All right. Well, my volume's up, so everybody got the reports, right?
Yes.
Balance
Yes.
sheet, profit and loss. So the only other thing is we can approve the bill list if you want.
I think she said to approve the bill, asking to approve the bill list. I'll take a motion to approve the bill list for the month of, for June 10th with a total amount of $40,102.34.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Any other highlights, Cheryl, you want to discuss regarding your report?
No, everything's, nothing really out of the ordinary. Everything's fine at the office. Actually, Diversified has been very good. You know, they haven't missed a beat.
Well, that's good to hear.
Everything's been functioning as it always does, so that's been good. You know. But yeah, everything's fine.
Well, while we got you on the screen and everything's working, why don't you talk about the discussion on the new business item? We can
Okay.
get that out of the way.
In case it cuts me off again. Yeah, I just wanted everybody to just think about it because I did get one phone call from a guy who filled a above ground pool that he just put in, and he was upset about the sewer bill. So I told him that we didn't have a policy for credit, and he just brought up the fact that Lower Makefield is not opening the pool this year, so he feels like we're going to get a lot of requests for credits. So we haven't yet, but I just thought it was something that we might want to think about because it could become an issue, I guess, if we start getting.
No one keeps their pools empty in the summer. That's ridiculous.
I think you just installed it, Mike.
What's that?
New installation.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and Lower Makefield's not opening at all this year, so he feels that there's going to be a lot of requests. He says a lot of his neighbors are doing above ground pools, and so just in case it becomes an issue, I just thought we could be something to think about anyway.
Does anybody want to make any comments on this?
Sure, why can't we buy a couple water meters, put garden hose connections onto them, have the people come to the office, we have a reading off of the meter, we give them the meter, they bring it back, and we deduct that off their sewer bill.
Yeah. we
Very
talked about that
interesting.
one time years
Very
ago.
interesting, Rich, because that's what I was talking to Cheryl about this afternoon. And if you remember, I had purchased one over the counter and presented it to the board about 5 or 6 years ago before our adoption of the
Deduct.
discount meter policy was enacted. And at that time of the discussions, it might require too much maintenance on our administrative part to take care of it. Hello, Phil.
Howdy.
How are you?
It's windy here.
Put your Superman cape on. So, yeah, Rich, that's a feasible solution. As Cheryl said, though, we only got one call so far. We can discuss it further and consider it, but just so that everyone is reminded, we do have a deduct meter policy, which we implemented to try and take care or stave off any of the credit requests. And I realize it's not really the same, but then again, I told Cheryl that when we were talking about the individual portable meter to do this with, the board's also concerned was that, okay, once we start doing swimming pools, then we do car washes, and then we do power washes, where does it stop? And that's why, in my recollection, and Tom, you may correct me on this, that's why we strongly considered and adopted the deduct meter policy.
And I agree with that, with one thing. We didn't have the COVID virus back then with pools shut down, so forth and so on. This is an exception to the rule. I don't see where it would hurt us to you buy a washing machine hose, a couple of fittings and a meter, and then you give it to the people. It's a temporary thing, and it's just good policy.
It's good temporary policy. I agree with you. And the only consideration I would ask of the board and the engineer for advice to consider is that off-the-shelf portable meter that I had purchased, well, actually, YBSA purchased it. There are better models that are a little bit more expensive that can be reset by a key only. And that was part of the discussion back then of the opposition to that portable meter, was because, gee, they could either run it backwards or reset it or do whatever they wanted to do. So I go along with what you're saying. If this be a time of need, to consider a temporary policy to help out and to reduce the financial burden on our ratepayers. But I would also request that we consider a
all right.
upgraded model that would be able to be reset by the key, by Cheryl or Carol.
Help, Mav. I don't know.
How does Cheryl and Carol feel about it?
I don't know. Ask them.
I mean, I think it would be a
Deal and
one-time
deal.
only when they initially fill their pool for the first time, and not for refills or low water or anything else. It's just a one chance for this summer.
Because of the situation with the coronavirus, Carol?
Right. Yeah, that's my thought.
It's worthwhile to consider. Rich, you're the plumbing expert. You want to research a more elaborate model, or do you think that the one we have is fine? Again, the opposition, when we were looking at it and discussing this, was that there could be a possibility where it could be tampered with very easily. And follow-up research says there are other models that are a little bit more expensive, but you have to reset the meter with a key so that Carol or Cheryl could reset it, hand it to the customer, whatever it comes back with, they can't tamper with the readings on it.
No, they have check valves that fit on the garden hoses that we could put onto the meter and then screw it on with its set screw. So kind of make it like a tamper resistant kind of thing.
Understood. Yep. And that way we save the cost of a new upgraded model of a meter.
Right.
Agreed.
I have to say I'm in favor. I think I'm in favor of it.
I just have one more thought, and maybe that we don't make it a public announcement on it, just on request.
Carol, how many of these calls have you fielded?
None. I haven't had any
Okay.
yet. I've got a couple neighbors, two neighbors who are both in the process of getting the permits and all for their above ground pools, but I'm not speaking to them about their water situation.
Understood. I'm looking at Phil and his picture. Does the board want to consider doing something tonight, or discussing it further, or having the solicitor write something up?
Say that again?
Does the board want to consider doing something tonight about this, or wait until the solicitor can write something up? Or I'll ask Rich to put pen, and I will pen my opinions, or everybody can pen their opinions on what they want it to read, and let the solicitor write it up, and we can take a vote on it next month. Okay. I think if we're going to try and do anything, that would be my suggestion. Does anyone have any comments regarding that suggestion, or do you want to table it?
Well,
Must be.
right? I mean, it's summer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that means, Mike.
That they're going to be filling.
If we're
the
gonna do it, we gotta do it now.
We've had one phone request.
No, I got you.
Hey, guys, if I may, one little suggestion, and goes to the interest of time too. Rather than trying to, come up with some sort of a device and then try to regulate its use, another option, just thinking out loud, would be to have the homeowner give us the dimensions of the pool, maybe take a picture to show it and show if there's water in it already, and then go by that and just, math the amount of water that they could possibly be using to fill it.
Do that too.
Confirm it with the,
That's an even easier one.
it is.
Yeah.
And then,
Most of these would be new pools, right? So ask them for the capacity, ask them for the specs on their pool.
and then we can look at the water bill and see that, you don't give them more credit than what they actually paid. So you'd have to kind of balance it to the actual water bill. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I
But
like that idea.
yeah, and the only hang up I have with it is, how do you, well, initial pool installations. We want to see the permit that you just built it this year. This is your first billing. Only because if it comes up next year, they say, well, you gave me credit last year. Well, that was for the initial billing. Well, you didn't tell me that. I
Well,
thought I
we'll
could do
tell
this
them
every
this year.
year.
Well,
Yeah, we'll tell 'em.
next year's going to be a whole different deal anyway, because this is a pandemic specific offer, right?
Yes. Well, we hope next year's going to be different.
Well, if it isn't, then you figure out the rule for next year, right?
I agree. Good point, Alex.
Dave, you call it the pandemic pool credit for 2020. Did you get that?
I got it.
All right, so you just limit it to 2020. You, the pandemic, we're authorizing a credit against the sewer bill for the initial filling of a backyard above ground pool
And below ground.
and below ground. Okay.
Anybody else got comments on that? I go along with that. Just for 2020, go by capacity.
Right.
There you go.
Who's going to figure this out, though? Are we going to pay our engineer to do this? Because
We can
then
figure it out.
that fee should come out of the ratepayer that's applying for it.
Hand it over to that expensive lawyer. Where is he?
Right here. You want me to do the math, huh?
Well,
Yeah, there you go, Blake.
why don't you
I'll
tell
look
them, like Carol was saying, why don't you
It's a
tell them
simple
that they have to
calculation.
provide the spec from the manufacturer or from the pool installer, put
Oh,
the
yeah.
burden on them.
Capacity.
So to show the dimensions and then actually show the calculation, okay, so many feet by so many feet, so many cubic feet, convert it to gallons and you're done. But make them do that. So your guys, the staff is just reviewing their calculation.
So the bottom line is, if this person that called Cheryl says, okay, what do I need to do if I want this credit? She says, I just need the manufacturer's specifications on gallons on what the pool holds. Period.
Yeah, tell them,
Yeah.
well,
You
she can
even
just
do
tell
that.
them to have the installer provide the information.
Yep.
It's easier than that. I have a 24-foot round pool, 4 foot deep. Go to Google. Google
Yep.
24-foot round, 4 foot deep. It'll tell you how many gallons.
I just did it, and Leslie Pools has a whole thing with every size pool, every size wall height, and then they do the same thing for in-ground.
But again, just as a practice, I would have them tell you what that is specifically.
Yeah,
So then you're just checking their math.
yeah,
With
sounds good.
pictures of the pool.
Right.
that sounds good.
Always
Where do you
good
want
to
to
have
go?
an
You
actuary
want to make a
on the
motion on
board.
this? You want to adopt it as a policy?
Yeah, it should show up in the minutes,
Right. I'll put it in the minutes.
I say,
Okay.
it's a temporary policy that's being enacted due to the coronavirus and the potential recreational cost expenses by our ratepayers to try and cut them a break, word it whichever way you want to do. And it's gonna be done by having the manufacturer, the homeowner supplies the manufacturer's capacity to us with pictures, and it's only for newly installed pools above ground, below ground, and it's only during 2020.
Okay. Okay.
That was
I
my
second-
motion. That was my motion.
second Dave's motion. I second Dave's motion.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. Is there further comments upon this? And Cheryl, do you need And Blake, do you need a more explicit?
No, I think it just needs to be in the minutes what, the way you're going to handle it, and that's clear enough. I don't think you need anything more than that.
Okay. Any other comments on this motion that's on the table? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Rich,
Yeah,
wake up.
and I have to wake up too? Oh, geez.
I
Didn't
think.
pay him for the whole meeting.
All right, motion passes unanimously. That does it for Cheryl, I believe. At this
Yeah,
point,
Sorry
let's,
about that. I don't know what was going on with my connection, but it seems okay now.
yes, it does. All right, let's go to our reports, and Brian, you're up, sir.
Okay, nothing new to report on the Marshville situation. The Looker Lane laterals, Pinchatti, the contractor, installed the cleanouts for 7 of the properties in Looker Lane. That work's completed, and they submitted an invoice to Cheryl. Cheryl, I sent that over to you.
Mhm.
The only thing remaining are 2 driveway restorations, which the homeowners are responsible for completing themselves, and they will send proposals in for authorization prior to that work proceeding. So for
Brian,
that, yes,
how did those installations go? Okay.
yeah, it came out fairly well. I'm kind of glad we had a utility contractor. I mean, they were 8-9 feet deep, some of those. So, I think sometimes, depending on the equipment, some of the plumbers would have, it might have been more of a task and a longer project. So, they were able to get in and out within a week. So yeah, it went fairly well.
Good.
It looked good to me when I drove down and looked over Lane, and I've heard no complaints from the neighbors. So
Yeah, we had a couple little settlement issues, and the contractor came back on Tuesday this week to fill some of those in.
Good.
The grass restorations, for the most part, look pretty good. The grass started establishing, so I think we're in good shape. So
you
I recommend that.
street sweeper come and get rid of the dirt on the street.
Yeah, they had scheduled one, and the company dropped the ball on that, so they wound up coming back like a week later than they were supposed to, but it eventually got done. So,
I think it was well done.
so I would recommend proceeding with that, and next year as well. And it came in plenty under budget, so we might be able to add a couple more next year. I think the total was just under 14,000.
All right. What else you got?
Not much to report. Joint use facilities. I'll let Blake report on that. And that's going into the moving ahead with the easement process. So I'll let Blake handle
All right.
that. I don't have much else other than that for tonight.
Very good. Thank you. Alex, you got anything to add?
No, nothing specific, other than any questions as they come up, but I think that covers it for us.
Very good. Mr. Dunbar.
Yes, sir. I did receive the legal descriptions for the easements. And we've prepared the easements, permanent easements and construction access easements. So they're ready to go. We also confirmed the title as best we could through the tax assessment office in Doylestown. Now, I'm not, that's pretty current, but I don't think we need to get title searches. I think that's accurate enough, and we could always correct it if one had been transferred. I I don't know if you got my email today. I checked with an appraiser in Doylestown to get an estimate, or to get a price actually to do valuations. There's a total of 13 easements, and I think you saw his estimate was 6,250. So, you know, it's a little under $500 an appraisal. You know, it's likely most people, most property owners are going to want some compensation. So the question is, do we include a value when we send them a letter with the easement, or do we send them the letter, you know, without the value and have it in reserve? But in most cases, we're going to need a valuation. So this outfit in Doylestown Benchmark gave us that estimate. That seems pretty reasonable. So that's the only question. We're ready to send those out to the property owners. There's 11 property owners. And I'm not sure if you want to include a, you know, evaluation and say, here's what our appraiser values it at, or if you just want to send it out and see if they sign it without a valuation, without a compensation.
Question, don't we already have easements where the existing main is? And isn't that going to be the same location for new main?
I'm not sure in every case. I think in some, but Brian, I think you can answer that.
Yeah, we are using the existing permanent easements as much as we can. There's areas where, you know, some of these are just temporary construction easements to facilitate the construction, but there are some areas where we divert from where the existing sewer lines are. So we will have new easements.
So that's where the 13 come into play?
It's a combination. The 13, I believe, is the total number of properties that are affected. Some of them are only temporary easements, but some are permanent and temporary.
Well, if there's an easement that includes both the prior easement area and a new one, we would just have to make sure that's separated out, and the valuation only pertains to that. If it's entirely within the existing easement, we wouldn't need to,
we wouldn't have a legal description unless it's new easement.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So these are all new easement areas.
Yeah. It's either new, permanent, or temporary.
Okay.
Okay.
Blake, regarding the title searches, isn't it possible that Cheryl and Carol could look up the title searches independently on the internet to give us a current title search of the property, to make sure that we're, number one, notifying the right party, number two, paying the right party if we've got to pay for them?
Yeah, I think that's similar to checking with the Board of Assessment, but you could do that to see what what the internet says is the current ownership. If we send an easement out to somebody and they're not the owner, we're going to learn that there's a new owner there. But yeah, that's a good idea. They could verify. I mean, there's only 11 property owners here. They could easily verify.
Right. And that wouldn't jeopardize sending the letters out. It would just, as you said, if we send a letter to somebody that doesn't own it, they're going to tell us before we have the title search completed, or both, and go from there. But just have the title searches in our file for backup.
Well, what I was saying was that I don't think, because it's a limited number of easements, limited number of property owners, I don't think we're going to need to do a title search unless we end up with a problem property. For example, if it's not clear, or if condemnation is required. If somebody says, no, I'm not going to let you, extend this easement over my property, then we'd have to do a regular title search. I don't think we need to do that here.
But you're just talking verification of ownership.
Just to verify,
Yeah.
because if ownership has changed, we're going to learn that, and we'll just shift accordingly.
And Blake, you're saying Board of Assessment, are you going on the Bucks County website, Board of Assessment?
Yes.
That's exactly what I would do too. So I would be doing the same thing.
Okay, so that's
That's about
been,
the most current information you can get.
yeah, other than the title search, that's the most current. Now, it's possible, there's a couple months delay there, especially now. But in most cases, I don't think we'd have a problem. And like I said, we can always adjust accordingly if we find out there's a new owner.
Then,
Oh.
Blake, how about you and Cheryl and Carol getting together and you tell them specifically what you want to see? And Cheryl, it sounds like you're familiar with it, so get with Blake, tell him what you think he wants and do it, and just have them in the file ready to go in case we need backup.
Okay, and we also get certification requests, so we're kind of notified a little bit earlier when something is going to go for sale, because
Yeah.
they start requesting tax and sewer certifications. So we usually are alerted when something's up for sale.
That's true, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I guess the only question is, does the board want to go ahead and get valuations of these easements so we have them? We're most likely we're going to have to get valuations for some of them or most of them. So this is sort of I think a pretty reasonable rate to get valuations of all of them.
Yep, Blake, for what it's worth, I'll just chime in. I think you're going to need valuations for all of them, and I think you're going to want to have them, if not when you send the letters out, if not in the letters, then you're certainly going to have them handy pretty quickly, because that's going to be the very first question that everybody's going to come back and ask. So I think, I don't think it's realistic to think somebody's going to say, sure, and sign off an easement without a dollar amount already being attached to it.
I agree with Alex.
I think that's right. The last one we did, we included our appraiser's valuation, and they can take it to their, they can get it confirmed. So I think it's the way to do it, is put it in the letter.
I would agree with that, and just based on our experience in other cases, similar cases, I think that's probably your better approach.
I agree.
Maybe I'm delving into an area I shouldn't, but would something like that, purchasing of easements from ratepayers, wouldn't that be a necessary item on the auditor's list of things that he needs? So yes, we would know that we paid so much because of the check that's cut, but is it worthwhile to have the backup for the auditor, or he doesn't care, or it doesn't matter, or I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. You're paying money. You have to prove that you're not paying too much.
Yeah,
well, we'd have an appraisal to support it. We'd have a specific document valuing the easement. So I think that would be sufficient
Okay,
backup.
that you sold me. Okay, so
Now,
Sharon,
just
Carol,
one thing.
go ahead.
Just one thing. There's a 4-week. Benchmark told me there's a 4-week period to get this done. It takes about a month.
What are you saying? What does that mean?
Well, if you authorize to have them do it, it's going to be a minimum 4 weeks until
Before he can do it.
before he can get it to us.
Got it. Well,
can you hold him to that? I mean, understanding there's that lead time, can you ask him to meet a certain date, or would the board want him to, keep it to that date?
Yeah,
I'll ask the question. Can we have them all done by next meeting?
I can find out. I mean, I don't know that, but I can find out. Yeah, he said it's 4 weeks, so he should be able to do it.
Right, I'm just suggesting, let him know that the board need, hey, we're giving you the work, but the board needs it by the next meeting, so you got to stick to the 4 weeks.
And the next meeting is July 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. Cutting it close, but
I'm sure he can. I'm sure he built a little leeway in there for his estimate.
I say go ahead. And I say put the 4-week in place and, 4 weeks and no further than, a certain date, that's all. We need it ASAP.
Yeah.
Anybody else got comments on that?
I
Do we need a
agree.
motion? Do we need a motion on this, Blake, to,
Yeah, you're spending money, you're authorizing a contract with this, with the appraiser.
Move Blake is authorized to get the appraisals necessary for the easement process.
Benchmark Appraisal Group of Doylestown?
Yeah.
I'll speak to him tomorrow.
Cheryl, you got what the motion is?
I got it. Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Motion been made, properly seconded. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, what else you got, Blake?
That is it. Unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have.
Before I go through the rest of the board members, Mr. Smythe, it's good to see your smiling face. Or did he jump
Hello.
off? Or did you jump off the bridge already?
This is a new toy. I haven't done this before.
There he is.
Glad to see you
He
can
was
make
in
it.
the-
Turn a
he
light
was
on or
in
something.
that,
Were you in the closet?
I'm in the dark.
Where you at? The men's room or something?
He
Oh, he's down
He
at pump
was in the-
station. Tom, he's down at pump station.
was in the Hindenburg.
Phil, you got anything to say about the pump station? How it's been working through this virus problem? No virus in the pumps, right?
No, not that I know of. I put masks on them though, so the pumps have masks now. We had some VFDs tripping out again the past month, but I think it was storm related. And the grinder for some reason has tripped out a couple of times as well. Don't know why. And it reset. I was able to reset it, but I had to reset it manually. So I'm keeping an eye on that. If it does it again, I think I'm going to call municipal and just have them check it out, make sure there's nothing that amiss with it. Other than that, everything else is pretty quiet.
Good. And how have you been? Pretty quiet?
You know,
I'm not
reminds me.
I'm not buying into the hysteria.
Did you
put
ever
it that
get
way.
I was looking over in the engineering report for the pump station. It looks like, did we ever finish paying the contractor when we had the upgrades to the electrical system? Well, like that looks like an open item, and I thought that was done and closed and finished. And I apologize for not having it on my sheets, but this, in January, there was, we were gonna go back to the contractor and talk to him about it. And I'm thinking, gee, didn't we finish that? Didn't we authorize to pay him?
You're questioning
You know
the
what
payment that's
you know
still
what I'm
due
talking about?
OCC?
In the engineering
I
report
can-
under pump
I can tell you
station
about that.
upgrades. I mean, really, yeah,
Tom, are
it
you?
looks
are you-
like it's an open question, and I thought we paid them.
No,
What?
because there were some things there were some
Yeah.
questions still.
I'm just questioning, shouldn't that, all of a sudden I was looking and said, wait a minute, this really ought to be a closed item.
No.
So it's still open.
It's still
that
open
is still,
because.
yeah.
Yeah, go
I said
ahead.
it's still
Okay,
open. I
well,
believe,
maybe-
Carol, I believe you sent them a letter. They basically were looking to collect the rest of the money, and we told them, hey, you guys haven't finished your contract work, there were still punch list items. So you told them, we're not paying you until you complete those items. And I believe you had sent a letter in January to that
Right.
effect, and
Right.
it hasn't garnered any responses or action
And
on
there
their
was no
part.
response to that. There was no response to that, so we don't know whether he finished, there were some questions of whether certain things weren't done or were they done, and he didn't get back to us on that, so.
Maybe we ought to follow up on that and clean that up. Along with all the I'm having.
Contact them, Cheryl, see if they're gonna respond to that letter.
Okay.
And Cheryl, part of the reason that was being discussed was the fact that they were hounding you for payment, right? Has that stopped too?
Yeah, that stopped.
Yeah, they didn't get back to me, and I haven't heard anything from them.
Okay.
Well, how critical are the punch list items?
Yes.
I mean, maybe you can take a look at it and, get back to us next month.
Yeah, I have to look at it, but there wasn't anything probably real critical. It's been ongoing for probably close to 2 years now. But
Right.
yeah.
Well, I'd like to see that cleaned up and, put to bed.
Agreed.
Well, I can't let it go at this then. Are we gonna poke the bear, or are we just gonna ignore it because they didn't fulfill our demands? But if we contact them, what are we asking? We're asking how much we owe them, or are we asking them if they're ever gonna finish the punch list? I say, if you're gonna contact them, you wanna know if the punch list is gonna get finished. And if they say no, then we don't pay them.
Dave, I missed your comment entirely. My thing went unstable.
Dave, let me jump in, please.
Yes, sir.
But to your point, if they are remain unresponsive, Blake, is there a way that the authority can close out the contract unilaterally, say that, hey, they haven't responded, they didn't do the punch work, they haven't responded, we're closing the contract just to close the books on it?
You could do that by correspondence and just say, we never heard back from you. Therefore, we view this contract as closed. That might, you could do it that way now, or as Dave said, poke the bear and ask them if they intend to do the punch list. Yeah, you could close it out.
Okay, so maybe, and I don't know if it's Cheryl doing the letter, maybe then you could be, hey, either let us know, are you going to do the punch list? Or if not, or if we don't hear from you, then we're going to consider the contract closed.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys first look at how critical the punch list is?
How much
We
is
can live
owed?
with, Tom, to your question, we can live without the punch list at this point.
How much is owed on the
Okay.
contract? We know.
10,000, I think.
Was it 10,000? I'm trying to remember. They agreed, we ended up, Brian and I, and they had their input, and we did agree on a figure. We're all pretty close to in agreement with what we owe them. I can't remember what it was. Was
Yeah,
it
I don't recall
6,000?
offhand. I don't have it with me right now.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm thinking it was 6,000 or 7,000 maybe. I don't know.
That sounds about.
Yeah, I think about 7 or so, Cheryl.
Yeah,
Yep, 6 or 7 sounds right.
right.
Yeah, I think a letter, requesting if they intend to complete the punch list. Otherwise, we view the contract as concluded.
Okay.
With no debt owed.
The other way. We came up with a $7,000 figure that we were holding this money pending the completion of these punch list items. Please complete. Use the carrot instead of the stick.
We've already done that, Tom. We've done that exact thing in January and they haven't responded. That's why we're saying, here's the carrot still, but there's also a stick.
Okay. Put them both in. Sounds good.
So then we are resolved in the fact that Cheryl will send them the letters, or Blake will send them a letter. Who's sending the letter?
No, I can. I can send a letter.
All right, consult with Blake in case you need to know what to write down specifically. But I guess it would just say that, you know, that if you don't respond to this, then the contract done and over with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you on the Titanic now?
Yes, he is. He's going down.
He's going down.
He's going down.
Going down in the pump station.
This is the only Saturday I've found
Who
it.
knew the Titanic at the pump station?
Okay, well, let's see. Thomas, you got anything else you want to say?
No, I've already said too much.
Michael, you got anything?
We're good.
Rich?
That's good.
We're missing Carl, and because I haven't seen him on all night. Hope he's okay. I hope everyone and their families are faring okay. Hopefully this is going to get bit by bit better. Let's just keep everybody in our prayers and let anybody know if anybody needs anything.
Well, you know what? I'm
And
going to
yours.
need 2 people to sign checks. They're in the office, but
I can come in tomorrow.
I'm gonna need 2 people.
I can come in tomorrow morning.
What time are you going to be there?
Somebody will be in there like from 9 to 4, because if I'm not there, well, no, I should say I'm there from 9 to 1.
Okay, I'll be there.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll be there too sometime.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, Carol, you got anything?
No, there's a few people who are struggling, but they write a little note, say they're doing the best they can
Yeah.
on their payments.
Well, I can certainly understand that. Let us
We
know, let
haven't-
the board know, or let Cheryl know first. If there's anybody that's really in a problem that we have to set something up long term.
Yeah, we haven't posted anyone, of course. You know, I mean, I don't know if we should post and, because the water company's not shutting off anyone, so I don't know if we should post and just, it's kind of an idle threat. But
We've already sent them a letter. Instead of posting, send another letter unless anybody on any other member of the board disagrees with that.
yeah, okay.
We all good with that? Send them another letter saying we understand, but can you make something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
With that said, if anybody doesn't have anything,
Move to adjourn.
I make it.
Second.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye and goodbye.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, good night.
Thanks for coming on, Phil.
Thank you.
See ya.
Good to see you guys.
Hey, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Aye.